Okay, just in brief, we're summarizing here, just in brief. The 70-20-10 model says that 70% of learning comes from on-the-job experience. Please go back. Please go back. Yes, Kuro, John, you stated it clearly, 70-20-10. Yes, that's what we're looking at, 70-20-10 model. The 70-20-10 model states that 70% of learning comes from on-the-job experience, and 20% of learning comes from informal training, such as peers and social interaction, while 10% of formal training. Dear L&D professional, bring this to your shop floor. Bring this to your interventions. Whatever intervention it is you want to drive, bring this to it. In summary, it simply states that people learn by observation and doing. People learn by association. Even in your classroom training program, you have to model it to speak to 70-20-10. On the shop floor program, we have to really drive job experiences. I think there's a bit of some of the L&D professionals in the L&D space may really not have the privilege of being on the shop floor because they serve from the consulting end. The in-house L&D understand very well the workings of the shop floor. And with this, we mean right on the job training. Right on the job training. Freshers are recruited and are handed over to an experienced operator, handed over to an experienced engineer, and from there on, their training begins on the shop floor. It is proven that there is more learning that happens at that level than putting such a person in the classroom. Now, this is it. This is what I practically do, right? For introductory courses, or when, after doing my profiling, those employees within the category of, new entrants or debutants in the line of thought or in the line of, intervention, we bring them into the classroom for terminologies, expose them to ideas, expose them to rationales behind all of this concept or whatever concept it is. They pick it up from there. Then it translates to the 70. At the 70, they get to the shop, bundle and fix things. They work with their hands under supervision of an experienced person. Having gained that competency at that level, they cannot become functional within this thing because they have now gained skill to get them rolling at top 20%, which speaks discussions as it were. This helped them refresh and gain exposure from colleagues, friends, and relatives as it were. The 70-20-10 model speaks to how learning can be very, very effective. I remember a case in point where one of the very senior managers in the plant called me and was like, we're trying to recruit the 10 model. So we look at the skill set, analyze it, gotten people who are interested in learning that skill, and we place them on training. If they get hands-on, I've seen this work with very critical skills. I've seen this work with operators. I've seen this work at different facets. I'll give you an example, like your Excel training in the classroom, true or false? You may get
hands-on.
You may get hands-on. Thank you. It's hands-on. You may get informed about the terminologies, VLOOKUP, this, that, blah, 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 and all of those, basic fundamentals, how to create your sheet. Good. After that, what next? Classroom can deliver that. I got a feedback from one of my colleagues, and he was telling me that I had attached him to a buddy. I have attached him to a buddy within the system to actually mentor him with Excel. And he told me the way Gandaraj works on Excel is just so amazing that he has really learned a lot and improved his Excel skill by that association. He has 2 hours every day, 2 hours every day post-lunch to sit with Gandaraj. 2 hours. This was intentionally designed. The 70-20-10 rule speaks to being hands-on. And when you adopt the 70-20-10 rule, you can be sure that the outcome in the end will impact the business. Productivity. The skill set, needles will begin to move in various directions. There will be less breakdown or less downtime. All of this, especially for those within the manufacturing or the FMCG space and all of those. And for those in the consulting space, you see there'll be learners appreciate it more because it has to do with the doing. It's practical. Next slide, please. This is what makes learning and development very unique. So what are the benefits of the 70-20-10 model? Employee engagement and experience, talent management, talent retention, employee productivity and performance, practicality, and return on training investment. ROI on training. That is what the business wants to see. Thank you, Joseph. You want to say something? Okay. It's like Joseph, you want to say something? Because you're on mute. Okay. So having looked at these benefits, it is very obvious to us that the way to go for L&D professionals is to regularly adopt the 70-20-10 model. Every intervention is not training. You don't just throw people into training. Some may need coaching. Some may just need pairing. Some may basically just need incentives. Some may basically just need guidance. Some will probably just need some kind of affirmation, recognition, behavioral-wise. Everything is not training. So when there are interventions to drive, scale it around the 70-20-10 model. Especially in today's time, training is becoming boring and tiring, especially where it's not very engaging. Even in your training, adopt the 70-20-10 model. Next slide, please. Having done all of those, remember to measure. How do we measure the impact of your learning and development intervention? How do we measure the impact of your L&D programs? How do you measure that what you're doing is really enabling the business? Data, data, data. Next slide. So you may be able to gather your data. So to evaluate or to measure, please use self-assessment questionnaires. Use informal feedback from peers and management. Use focus group. Use on-the-job observation. Actual job performance by KPIs. All of this give you feedback and gives you data with which you are able to make your prediction as to the impact of L&D solutions, interventions, and programs to the business and to the individual. Don't forget, it's always to the business at one hand and to the individual at the other hand. Next slide, please. Yeah. In all of this, the point is that L&D is not immune to its challenges. There are challenges within the L&D space, very critical challenges. And I'm telling you from experience, for those of us who are already interacting either as consultant, you can really, you're going to be amazed at when top management is telling you, is saying things like, why do we need to spend this whole much amount of money for training? Why do we need to invest all of this? Why do we have to train them? There are a lot of challenges. The truth is that L&D, if not careful, will be falling short of its expectation, especially within the business circle or within the C-suites. I use the term C-suites intentionally because they are the decision makers. And as L&D professional, you must be able to engage at this level to give L&D leverage. Statistics have shown that 60% of executives anticipate up to half of the employees of their organization will require retraining or replacing in the next 5 years. Expectation. They have that expectation at one hand or one side of the brain, but in practical, this expectation could probably be seen as maybe 10, because they don't care. They don't just care. And that is why people could work in some organization for 2 years, 3 years without ever attending a single training session or an L&D intervention or an L&D session designed to improve capability, competency, skills, behavior, as it were. Another critical point to note here is that The trust of L&D is falling. The trust of learning and development is falling. A lot of C-suite are now losing trust and losing that trust in the interventions of L&D. No wonder they now see it as cost center. Most employees, if you interact with them, they're going to let you know that probably either the training they are attending does not really link to the kind of training they want to attend, or does not link to the kind of skills they want to develop for the future. They see a mismatch between the skills they want to learn for the future and the skills that they have been drafted into learning. How do we surmount all of these kind of challenges? How do we ensure that we stay ahead and we stay afloat of these challenges, overcome them, if need be, crush them, because only then would L&D have its voice on the table. Next slide, please. For those of you who are within the L&D space for a while, and for the new joiners, please look at it. This is very interesting. Very senior L&D professionals, HR professionals. One of the biggest challenge you have is to get executive buy-in. How many of you are with me on this? For HR consultant, learning consultant, one of the biggest challenge you have is to get the executive of your clients, your prospective client, buy-in. How many of you are with me on this? If you are with me on this, let me know on the chat. Another critical challenge is high training costs. And the truth is that training is not cheap at all. Even if you want to go the route of technology, training is not cheap. Technology for training is not cheap either. Now, the complexity of different learners, different learning styles, and different learning needs makes it very complex for the HR or learning and development professional. I don't know how many of you can relate with this. Another big challenge that we are confronted with is low learner motivation and engagement. You want to also look at this. L&D are perceived as order takers and not solution providers. These are the many challenges. This is not exhaustive. Some of you have experienced this live and direct. You have come face to face with these challenges. I have, sincerely, I have. Will you give up? Should you throw in the towel? Pass the ball? Play the blame game? No. I repeat, no. No. You must rise up to the occasion and surmount these challenges. Let's go to the next slide. How do we navigate these challenges? We have looked at building stakeholders' relationship in the first place. Do not forget that your health stakeholders' relationship is also built on trust, will be built on trust, and they must see value coming from you. They must see intelligence coming from you. They must see that willingness and readiness to understand their challenges, their pain. They must see empathy coming from you for them to trust you and buy into your recommendations. Are we together? You can leverage internal SMEs or alternative learning method. We have discussed the 70-20-10 model. Everything is not just pushing everybody to the classroom and inviting one consultant who will charge 10 billion naira. No. You must also understand the trainings that can be done internally. In short, you need to start developing internal subject matter experts. That's what it's called. Locally satisfy them internally. Train them internally to become internal facilitators. Train them internally to become subject matter experts. Guide them, show them the nitty-gritties on what to do, because this is what they do every day. They should be able to transfer that knowledge to others. Conduct a thorough need analysis. A thorough need analysis, when truly conducted, will reflect the true nature and the situation on ground. And I tell you, business unit heads, whatever, when they see the analysis, they will only but say, this is true. Also, incentivize learning. Acknowledge avid learners, appraise them, reward them. This speaks to learners' motivation. When they know that if they're able to cover certain hours of learning, they can be awarded either monetary-wise or with a plaque or whatsoever it is. It is their motivation. Finally, reposition as an internal consultant. This is not a forum for us to talk about the consulting space and all of those, but the truth is that the L&D, like we've seen, wears multiple hats, and one of those is consulting. Please, to win this war, to win this challenge and sit on the table and speak to the issues and make recommendations that would get CCU buy-in, you need to position as internal consultant. You talk from the knowledge point of view. Let superior knowledge win. Next slide, please. Ladies and gentlemen, in summary, dear L&D professionals, in summary, understand your organization's business and how learning enables it. You must understand the business and how you can use learning and development as an enabler of its business goals. Identify and develop talent. To do this successfully, you must come out of your comfort zone and connect with the line managers on the shop floor. Collaboration is highly needed here. Build and sell a strategic plan. You must build a strategic plan. And not just building it, you must sell it. You sell it to who? The C-suite. So you learn how to sell at that level and get their buy-in. Then also learn to start small. Incentivize people in organization, incentivize learning. It motivates the employer, it motivates the learner. Finally, prove you can create value for the organization. This is the reason why the L&D is a critical enabler to the business. Always go for value, create value for the business, create value for the individual employees, create value. So long as you keep creating value, you remain relevant in the system. And this is why I make bold to say that across the HR function, L&D is a very critical, a very dynamic influencer to the impact of HR in the entire organization. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, we'll call it a day by just taking